A tomato ripens in the sun, but one touch too hard, and it bruises. Now imagine moving millions across oceans without crushing them. Soft, perishable, vital, yet always on the move. In the cracked soil of late summer, under skies thick with heat, the tomato begins its life not as a delicacy, but as labor. It's pulled from the earth in regions built around its rhythm: California, Italy, China, where seasons are planned not by calendar, but by harvest windows measured in hours. In Puglia, workers move between vines before dawn, knowing the midday sun makes the fruit too soft to handle. In the Central Valley, entire towns swell with seasonal workers, trucks clogging country roads, their beds already stained red. These are not boutique operations. The fields stretch to the horizon, mechanical harvesters humming through them, plucking fruit not by color alone, but by softness, guided by sensors fine-tuned to mimic a farmer's fingertips. What happens next is defined by pressure: physical, economic, climatic. Once picked, the tomato begins to degrade. Every minute that passes without cooling increases the risk of rot. In Xinjiang, where summer temperatures can top 40 degrees C, tomatoes must be processed the same day they're harvested. That means moving hundreds of tons from field to factory with industrial urgency. In Italy, this window is tighter still: 6 hours. Beyond that, acidity rises, color darkens, and the fruit's value begins to slide. If you've ever opened a can of bright red paste, you're looking at the result of a race you never saw. But even before a tomato leaves the country where it's grown, it faces a gauntlet of fragility. It can't be shipped like onions or potatoes. It bruises if the crate is too shallow, ripens too fast if humidity rises, ferments if it's not kept just above freezing. The skin isn't strong enough for bulk handling, so every movement is softened. Rubber belts, air-cushioned packaging, padded crates. Whole tomatoes bound for fresh export are layered with sponge-like insulation. They travel in refrigerated trucks that hold them at precisely 13 degrees. No higher, no lower. Just one broken sensor can compromise the entire load. And yet the softest tomatoes rarely travel far. In fact, the ones that cross borders most often don't even look like tomatoes anymore. They're already crushed, heated, reduced. In California, tomatoes are trucked directly to processing plants the same day they're picked. Inside, they're washed, peeled, cooked, and turned into paste in stainless steel vats large enough to hold small swimming pools. This paste is then sterilized and poured into industrial containers lined with aseptic aluminum. A single one can hold over a ton of concentrate. These aren't cans or bottles. They're metal bladders designed to resist puncture, block out light, and preserve flavor for months. Only after this transformation do the tomatoes move. The scale of this operation is difficult to overstate. In one factory in the San Joaquin Valley, more than 2 million pounds of tomatoes are processed every day during peak season. Conveyor belts run non-stop for 90 days. Trucks queue for kilometers. The goal is speed without rupture. Handle quickly, but without squeezing. Every step is designed to reduce damage, preserve freshness, and minimize loss. Still, losses happen. A truckload delayed by 3 hours in the sun can begin to spoil. A power outage in a cooling station can write off an entire shipment. There's no margin for pause. This tension between abundance and decay defines the trade. Tomato production is massive, but its margin for error is thin. And while paste travels farther than fresh fruit, both are bound by the same clock. In Ghana, factories wait for barrels from Italy. In Japan, pouches of paste arrive from Xinjiang. In each case, a delay isn't just inconvenient, it's a chain reaction. Production slows, costs rise, sometimes shelves go empty. It's not just about moving fruit, it's about feeding systems built on timing. And behind that timing lies a delicate math. Tomatoes are cheaper when processed closer to the farm, but markets demand flexibility, custom blends, varying thickness, region-specific flavor profiles. That means constant calibration. A paste bound for West African jollof rice isn't the same as what S used for Korean kimchi stew, and so the tomato isn't just exported, it's tailored. blended, seasoned, thickened to regional tastes before it ships. Processing becomes not just preservation, but cultural translation. By the time a single batch is ready to leave its origin, it's no longer a simple fruit. It's product, promise, and risk. What began as a fragile red bulb in a sun-baked field is now a pressurized pouch, sealed against air, strapped in a reefer container, waiting for customs clearance. But the real transformation isn't what's inside the package. It's what was needed to keep it there. Still red, still usable, still worth the trip. Somewhere along the equator, off the coast of West Africa, a container ship cuts through the water under a sky thick with salt and haze. Below deck, stacked neatly beside frozen meats and condensed milk, are rows of metal drums filled with tomato paste. Each drum weighs nearly as much as an adult cow. Inside, concentrated pulp from Chinese fields or Californian plains sits in sterilized darkness, preserved in vacuum-sealed liners. There's no scent, no spill, no hint of what it is. But when this shipment arrives, it will feed cities. In Lagos, trucks wait at the port long before unloading begins. The paste is destined for canneries that dilute, season, and package it into sachets sold in open markets. A single drum, once rehydrated and blended, will be transformed into thousands of packets, used for stews, rice dishes, breakfast sauces. This quiet arrival, hidden in cargo manifests and freight logs, marks the continuation of a process that never truly stops. One harvest ends, another begins. The tomato is always in motion, if not in trucks, then in steam-jacketed vats, in blending tanks, in the hands of factory workers who guide it from raw pulp to finished product. The containers used to carry this paste are feats of engineering. A typical unit includes a double-walled bladder encased in a collapsible steel cage, designed to withstand weeks at sea. Inside, the paste is kept at stable temperature, sealed from light and air. This packaging isn't just for preservation, it's for standardization. It ensures that paste arriving in a port in Accra matches the same profile, acidity, sugar content, viscosity, as that arriving in Karachi or Manila. This uniformity is essential. Many processing facilities rely on automated systems that can't adjust mid-batch. If the paste is too thick, machines jam. If too thin, cans overflow. The entire downstream economy depends on upstream consistency. There's also efficiency in the form. Unlike whole tomatoes, which are heavy, fragile, and high in volume, paste is dense. One container of concentrate can replace dozens of crates of fresh fruit. This means fewer shipments, lower costs, reduced refrigeration. It also means less food waste. Paste can last up to 2 years without spoiling. It can be stored, rerouted, repackaged. In the uncertain world of global food trade, where harvests are affected by droughts, floods, and fuel prices, tomato paste becomes a kind of insurance. Stable, reliable, ready. And yet, innovation hasn't stopped at storage. In parts of California, tomato skins, once discarded as waste, are now pressed into biodegradable packaging. In southern Spain, solar-powered dehydration tunnels remove moisture from excess pulp, producing a shelf-stable product with near-zero emissions. In Turkey, factory runoff water is filtered and reused for irrigation. Even the seeds, once seen as useless, are now pressed for oil, used in soaps and cosmetics. The tomato's value doesn't end at the paste. It expands, multiplies, becomes circular. What's remarkable is how many global dishes now depend on this system. Filipino spaghetti, slightly sweet and bright red, is made with imported tomato paste. So is the sauce on Argentinian empanadas, the base for Iranian koresh, the seasoning for Ghanaian beans and rice. This isn't cultural dilution, it's quiet connection. The flavor profile may shift, the spice added later, but the foundation remains red, acidic, slightly sweet. In many cases, the tomato binds flavor memory across borders. It tastes of comfort, home, consistency, and often, it started somewhere far away. There are still fresh tomatoes being shipped, carefully, expensively, seasonally. These move in refrigerated containers, cushioned in specialized trays, usually for high-end retail markets. But they're the exception. The global tomato trade runs not on whole fruit, but on engineered concentrate. It's this paste that travels farthest, feeds the most people, and defines the rhythms of modern food production. There's a quiet elegance to the system's complexity, from automated harvesters that can detect ripeness by color and firmness, to customs algorithms that predict shipping delays, to factories where optical sorters inspect paste for impurities at the molecular level. It is all designed to protect the softest part of the process. And the irony is that the product, though processed, still carries the fingerprint of the field. The soil, the sun, the strain of seed. These remain detectable to trained palates. The tomato may be compressed, blended, canned, and shipped, but it's never quite lost. And so what arrives in a home kitchen, a school cafeteria, a street food stall is more than ingredient. It's agriculture made portable, a field distilled into a pouch, and the systems that made that possible, freighters, bladders, chilling units, picker arms, hum in the background, mostly unnoticed. But without them, the world would taste very different. In a restaurant kitchen in Dakar, a silver sachet is torn open and stirred into a hot pan. The aroma rises. Onion, spice, acid, red sweetness. This paste, concentrated and sealed weeks earlier on another continent, has become the start of something familiar. In homes, markets, schools, and roadside stalls around the world, the tomato performs the same quiet task. It thickens, it colors, it binds flavors together. It's present, but rarely noticed. What's less seen is everything required to make that moment possible. The tomato has become a fixture in cuisines it didn't originate in. Its flavor threads through dishes, as if it has always belonged, but it isn't native to West Africa, the Middle East, or Southeast Asia. It traveled, first by empire, now by freight, and not as whole fruit. As paste, concentrate, pulp, powder, it moves sealed in metal drums, packed into sterile bladders, stored under temperature control, tracked by sensors. This isn't raw produce. It's a carefully preserved essence, made portable by precision. In southern Italy, fields that once fed local families now supply global processors. Tomato paste from here ends up in jollof rice, pizza sauce, noodle broth. Processing lines run at speed, but every step is controlled. Paste consistency must match specifications. Color, acidity, thickness, all calibrated. Machines inspect paste in real time, rejecting batches if a fraction falls outside the range. A drum of concentrate sent to West Africa must perform identically to one sent to East Asia. The demand isn't just for volume, it's for sameness across thousands of kilometers. Behind that sameness is a chain of systems, trucks timed to the minute, reefer containers locked at exact temperatures, customs processes designed around shelf life. A delay of 12 hours can mean spoilage. A temperature shift of 2 degrees can degrade color and flavor. Paste is sealed in oxygen-free bladders to prevent bacterial growth. Barcodes trace each batch back to its field. In large ports, scanners check for gas buildup inside containers. No lid is opened unless the data says it's safe. But the logistics aren't just about efficiency. They're starting to reshape how tomatoes are grown and used. In California and Spain, processors reclaim heat and water from evaporation chambers. The pulp left after concentration is compressed into biodegradable packaging. Peels are used in fiberboard. Seeds are pressed for oil. Even the water removed from the fruit is filtered and reused to irrigate nearby orchards. Nothing leaves the factory untouched or unmeasured. Waste becomes resource. Climate instability is changing the crop itself. In places where summer heat is too intense, new tomato varieties are bred to ripen faster and use less water. Soil sensors adjust irrigation in real time. In Xinjiang, production has shifted to higher elevations where nights are cooler. In Ghana, small-scale processors now work with imported paste while also developing local fields, an effort to reduce dependence and build stability. the tomato becomes not just an imported staple, but a local asset, a building block for food independence. Still, even as systems grow more complex, what they protect remains simple. The flavor expected in a dish, the memory it evokes. What arrives in a pouch in Lagos or a can in Manila carries more than tomato. It holds timing, coordination, and care. The softness of the fruit never disappeared. It was just surrounded by technology. In the world's busiest ports, paste is moved with algorithms. In local kitchens, it's stirred by hand. Between those points lies a network of cold air, steel, human precision, and sunlight from another country. The tomato that slips unnoticed into a sauce has passed through fields, factories, vessels, and checkpoints, all to preserve something fleeting: its sweetness, its color, its ability to begin a meal. It's easy to forget this. The tomato seems ordinary, but every packet holds decisions made by farmers, engineers, traders, and cooks. And every spoonful is the result of protection against time, heat, bacteria, delay. Not because the fruit is strong, but because everything around it was built to be. What you taste in a spoonful of sauce is more than tomato. It's care, timing, and quiet precision. Fragile from the start, it arrives intact because everything around it was built to protect it.